About 2 weeks ago, I covered a story about Al Sharpton, who's also corrupt. Don't let his I've been fighting for advocacy and social justice make you think otherwise. You put money in front of people and you'll be surprised how quickly they can change. Al Sharpton, a couple of weeks ago, I told you that he took $500,000 from Kamala Harris. That was prior to his interview with her. Now, apparently, it is now being brought to light that MSNBC was not aware that he took money from Kamala Harris's campaign before he had that interview, which was aired on their network. And they are speaking out. They are throwing Al under the bus. Al Sharpton's acceptance of Kamala Harris's campaign 500K donation is a bridge too far for MSNBC colleagues. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. It's all coming out now. The growing scandal plaguing MSNBC host Al Sharpton has been ricocheting around the halls of 30 Rock, with his colleagues calling it a bridge too far for them. And this is coming from Fox News Digital. Other outlets have reported this as well, just FYI. On Tuesday, MSNBC said it was unaware that Vice President Kamala Harris' presidential campaign paid $500K to Sharpton's National Action Network nonprofit ahead of a friendly interview with the Democratic nominee just weeks before the election. Now, what did I say before? And you'll see this also, same situation with Roland Martin. That should be disclosed. When my comrade JB decided to work for Jill Stein's campaign, what did JB do? He immediately announced it on Twitter and announced it on his show and on RBN and let everybody know that he had to disclose that he was working with the campaign. That is what you are supposed to do. So what Al Sharpton should have done is he should have disclosed, FYI, I have received money from the Kamala Harris's campaign prior to this interview. Yes, that is called proper journalistic practice. That is what a proper journalist would do. Let's continue on. It goes on to say here, MSNBC was unaware of the donations made to the National Action Network. That's coming from an MSNBC spokesperson. They said this to the Washington Free Beacon, which first broke the story. Harris sat down for a friendly interview on October 20th with Sharpton, an open supporter of Harris and the Democratic Party. Following Harris's defeat by former President Donald Trump, FEC filings revealed that Harris's campaign gave two $250K donations to Sharpton's nonprofit organization in September and October. Now, let me explain why you disclose. The reason why you tell people that you did receive money prior to interview is because if the interview in some way, shape, or form is a softball interview, which it was, we covered it on this show, the people will be able to say, you know what? He didn't push back on Kamala Harris, but he did tell us that he got money from the campaign. People can put two and two together. But when you don't disclose that information, especially for people who are not following politics throughout the year and may have just tuned in October, they don't know that you're not giving Kamala a fair interview. It's easier for the rest of us who are constantly paying attention to this. Like, I pay attention to politics every day. But for those who are not, and a lot of Americans are not, until like the month before the general election, you don't know that. You don't know that Al Sharpton is not giving Kamala Harris a fair interview. You don't know that there are certain things he probably should have pushed back on that he did not. And then once you find out that he took money, then it all makes sense. So people should do that. I don't care what the political party is. I don't care who the interviewer or the commentator is. That information should be disclosed. I have never taken money from any person on this show that was a candidate. One person came on a couple years ago and offered to donate money to bring forward their story about what happened at their job. But I told them even then, you don't have to pay me. But if you take money from a candidate prior to interview, after interview, whatever, that information should be disclosed because you are going to give them favorable treatment because they gave you money. It goes on to say here, however, the MSNBC weekend host did not disclose to viewers the apparent conflict of interest before or after the interview. Neither did he disclose the donations to his bosses at the network. So Al all over the place, because not only did he not tell the viewers, he didn't tell his supervisors. It goes on to say no one's surprised that anybody at MSNBC was rooting for Harris. This feels like another level of nonsense. Like, you're kidding me, right? This is weird. That's coming from the current MSNBC employee. Harris could have given Al Sharpton an interview and it would have gone the same way. But what are you paying for? There's no way that this can't seem weird. Yeah, because MSNBC, it's a left-leaning network. They support the Democratic Party. They don't support the Republican Party. They don't support third parties. So why are you paying money? And why did Al Sharpton accept the money and not disclose it? That doesn't make any sense. So you can see that here, right? It goes on to say, everybody knows who Al Sharpton is, but this feels like a bridge too far that is not landing well. This has a bit of a dirty feel to it. These things happen and they don't bounce around MSNBC all that much. Like, people just don't care. This one feels, I'd say, like there's a deeper disappointment. There's a sense of like, ugh, we don't need this. This feels kind of grifty and gross. And this is the interesting part, right? We already know MSNBC is seeing a decline of ratings post the presidential election. And I mean, viewers tuned out because you guys sat up there and lied to people and made them think that Kamala was going to just run away with this thing, which was never the case. And some of us in independent media told people the truth. I was one of the people that predicted on the show that Trump was going to get 312 electoral votes. But again, they ran with that narrative. So they lost a good portion of their audience while Fox News actually gained viewers. So to add on to that, now you got one of your top commentators, taking money from Kamala Harris's campaign and not only not telling their supervisor, but not disclosing that information with the viewers. It tells the people that MSNBC can't be trusted. And I've been saying that for the longest time, but now it's just even more apparent to those who may not have been paying attention. Now, it goes on to say here, listen to this part. There is a sense among the people I've spoken to that this feels like something wrong and something should be done about it. I don't know what that something is. That's a lot of money. That's not a small matter. It just doesn't sit well with people. Al, honey, Al. It just don't sit well with people, Al. So this is MSNBC throwing Al under the bus. Now, I just want to show you a short part of this to show you very from the beginning where Al Sharpton could have pushed back and did not. Let's get into it. This was the interview that they're referring to where Al Sharpton did not push back. Listen to this.
Good evening and welcome to Politics Nation. Tonight's lead, in her own words. I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia tonight, where just a couple of hours ago I sat down with Vice President Kamala Harris. We spoke about the historic nature of her race as she is now facing as an extraordinary historic campaign with just 16 days to go until the election. In just 3 months, that election will take place. Vice President Harris has managed to introduce herself to the American people and pull into a dead heat in the polls. Now she's seeking to draw contrast and mobilize her supporters in the final days of the race, including African American voters. Meantime, her opponent, former President Trump, is ending with an increasingly hostile and erratic closing message. And that's where we start. Here is my exclusive interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, thank you for allowing us on your birthday to sit down and talk.
Of course, Raph, it's good to be
And
with you.
I want to get to the Georgia vote and other issues, but let me ask you,
Pause. This is something that I didn't catch the first time I covered that interview, but I didn't know about the payment then. She did that interview on her birthday. It just, this is, I don't know this. You know what I mean? She took the time to do the interview on her birthday and she paid him money. So of course he's going to be especially nice to her.
as vice president, and if you hopefully not presented with it, but as president, with Sinwar having been killed, how would you move toward a ceasefire? What do you think the United States should be doing?
So first of all, look, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but we have got to get this war over with. We got to get the hostages out. We need the war to end. In fact, we're sending Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, out next week to go and meet with the parties there. And the death of Sinwar, I believe, has removed an obstacle to that end. And so we've got to work at it, and we've got to work at it through diplomatic means, and that's what we intend to do. But listen, the reality of it is that the difficulty of it all is not new to any administration in recent history. And it cannot be the reason that we don't work at it around the clock and be vigilant. And that's what we're going to do. And I think it's very important that that's what we do.
And balance. I mean, I remember in Selma, you made very strong statements about civilians being killed on both sides. And you stood up strongly on that. And I think that's a concern in all communities.
Well, I mean,
So notice how he doesn't push back, right? And Kamala was very nervous about that particular part of the discussion. Notice how he doesn't put, so Kamala Harris's birthday is October 20th. Why is that important? Let's go to the receipts. According to the FEC filing, that payment that was sent to Al Sharpton's National Action Network, the first one was September 5th. That's the second row here. September 5th, $250,000. The second payment was October 1st, $250,000. Now I'm showing you this because her birthday is October 20th. The payment happened, both payments happened prior to the interview. Now, if I just give you $500,000 and we sit down for an interview and you're interviewing me and I'm a candidate, pretty well in a bet you're going to be a little bit softer on me. So that's important. That is important for viewers to know. So I would argue that Al Sharpton should not be doing these interviews. I would argue that Al Sharpton, especially since he did not tell MSNBC about this, Al Sharpton probably should not even be on MSNBC. Now, they got all these other kind of problems going on right now. They've already cut or reduced Rachel Maddow's $30 million salary. Can you believe they were paying that woman $30 million? Isn't that insane? That's insane. They've already reduced her salary. They're already trying to make other cuts. You guys can go ahead. Look, I'll help you out. You can go ahead and cut Mika and Joe. You can cut Rachel Maddow completely. In fact, you can cut everybody. How about just go ahead and do that? That'll help you out. How about just go ahead and do that? But you have a commentator who has their own show on MSNBC who took money from a presidential candidate and didn't disclose that information and took the money prior to the interview. That is a problem. It's the same criticism that I had for Roly-Poly. Now, Roly-Poly was very defensive over the fact that he took $350,000 from Kamala Harris's campaign. Now, he says they're for ads. So let's listen to what he had to say about that. And I want to show you some of these payments as well.
So we got $350,000 for advertising from the Harris for President campaign. Where did the other 10 billion go? The other 10.6 billion or whatever. I'm sorry, where did that go? Where did it go? Oh, I'm sorry. I know where that money went to. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, local TV stations, and local media in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Arizona, in Nevada. Reason I know, I went to 5 of those battleground, North Carolina. I went to those 5 of those battleground states. I'm sitting in the hotel room and I'm going through television. Ad. All of those ads actually ran. Let me take y'all, do even better right here. Because remember I said those local ads. Did I say that? Here's a piece in Axios. Political ads boost local TV. That's what the ad said right there. That's what it said right there. Okay? Political ads boost local TV. That means that the ads run. So, let me get this straight. We shouldn't take political advertising. Everybody else. But let me just give you another example.
Pause. See, this is the part that I think he's not being genuine about. It's not the fact of you shouldn't be taking ads, etc. Okay, because he owns like Black Star Network, all that kind of stuff. That's not the issue that people are upset about. People are upset because you didn't disclose that information. And yes, Roland Martin also had a one-on-one interview with Kamala Harris, and he received payment prior to the interview. This is a problem. Stop, people, stop. Like, I can't believe it. And then he doubled down. Why you double down? Get out of here, man. He doubled down about this and said he should have received more money.
Let's see right here. iHeartRadio, and I do commentaries on iHeartRadio's Black Information Network. Guess who got political commercials? iHeartRadio's Black Information Network. Do you remember when iHeart ran this 1-hour interview with Vice President Kamala Harris and Charlamagne the God on a bunch of their radio stations? Do y'all think iHeart did that out of the kindness of their heart?
So here's the other problem. Last time I checked, Charlamagne the God doesn't own iHeartRadio. He is a co-host. Let me explain this to people who may not understand. The Breakfast Club is owned by iHeartRadio. Charlamagne the God is a co-host on the Breakfast Club. And then there's DJ Envy as well, right? And then there's another woman that actually replaced Angela. So anyway, you get the point. He doesn't own it. He doesn't own the Breakfast Club. He doesn't own iHeartRadio. And to keep it real, you know, if I see some of these kind of things like that, he owned that and he took money from Kamala, we would call him out too. What are you doing? Stop. Yes, we would call him out as well. So stop it. I've never seen anything like this before.
No, iHeart got millions of dollars in political ad spending. You know who else did? Cumulus Radio, Salem Radio, Sinclair Television. So now I'm confused here. So you got some black folks out here who now are questioning why he gets the money. Because we have a network that reaches millions of people.
So again, it needs to be disclosed, Roland, just like it should have been disclosed from Al Sharpton. And I'll show you this as well, because this just, again, especially when I see you spending so much time attacking people like me and everybody else online who didn't want to support Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, by the way. And then I look back and I'm like, this is all after you got that money. So I put two and two together, fam. The interview was Roland Martin here with Kamala Harris. Everybody remember this? I don't know if you all saw it, but this interview, I had this here. This interview, if we look at the air date, October 14th, 2024. So that's when a lot of these interviews took place with Kamala Harris, right? You also gave Kamala a softball interview. If we go to the FEC filings, New Vision Media, which that's Roland Martin's thing, you received the payment of $350,000 on September 9th. That is prior to the interview. So yes, you need to disclose it. You are not just journalist, also commentator, but you own the network. And the network got money, whether it's for ad buys or whatever. You sat down with Kamala Harris after you got that money and you gave her a softball ass interview. I don't know why he keeps trying to defend this. I don't know why you comparing, New Vision Media to iHeart Radio and Charlemagne. Charlemagne does not own iHeart Radio. You own New Vision Media. So stop. It's embarrassing. But again, at the end of the day, what does it come down to, folks? It's corruption. Why would you not disclose it? Are the people going to trust you giving other presidential candidate interviews that you're going to be fair towards those candidates? You were supposed to disclose that information. And I've seen the videos all on TikTok where people are like, I feel some kind of way right now about Roland Martin and Al Sharpton because they didn't tell us that they were paid prior to doing those interviews. So obviously, if someone giving you money, you're not going to treat them in a not necessarily hostile manner, but you're not going to treat them in such a way that's going to hold them accountable. And you're more likely to defend them. So this is part of the reason why I don't take sponsorships for the show. This is part of the reason why even a lot of times people will offer, well, I can pay you. This is why no, because I want to be able to hold you accountable. When you're wrong, I want to be able to tell you you're wrong. I don't want to be like this with you. No. So it's corruption, fam. And it always goes back to money. If you follow the money, you'll see the corruption. And these are the same people. It is Roland Martin, who's one of the same people who said that I was a grifter. I didn't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about broadcasting, even though I majored in broadcast journalism, but it just goes to show you what people don't know. I didn't know anything about I'm the grifter, according to Roland Martin. I don't have sponsorships. He does. I'm not getting paid by candidates and I don't expect to and don't ask for it. He is. So who's really the grift? You follow the money, you'll find the corruption. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.